All right, everybody, welcome to the Bill and Kap Show. So good to have you here. You got Bill, it's me, Kap, and we have an awesome guest today, Tommy Nguyen. Tommy, he doesn't like to admit it, but he's kind of a minor celebrity within the industry. He's the co-founder of Storage Pug, and he's also, you said you're a brand new dad, Tommy?
Brand new dad, baby. Vera was born in the summer in June, and she's a big honking 95th percentile 8-month-old.
Oh my gosh, man, that's awesome.
We love it.
Yeah. So you're doing the dad thing. I know that can be a little tough. How's the sleep going?
Sleep is not good. She's done a lot of things well. Sleep is not one of them. But I tell you what, man, I grew up with a single parent. My mom, right? She raised all her kids by herself, and I cannot imagine doing that, right? I'm so lucky. My wife is an incredible mother, and she's like the best, and she's so natural with it. And I cannot imagine doing this by yourself, whether you're a single mom or single dad. So shout out, much love to all the single parents out there. But like, I'm very lucky. My daughter has the best mom, so very, very thankful.
Yeah, I mean, it gets into the whole wellness thing too. I mean, you know, we go into this whole storage adventure, and yeah, that can. I kind of roped my family in on it. My wife is part-time with me in this whole thing. It's kind of fun. Yeah.
I saw that. I saw Rebecca's doing some of the digital marketing stuff for y'all. So I love that. That's so fun. Bring the whole family.
I want to dig into that because, I mean, you guys have, and I want you to kind of tell the whole story. You guys have a really cool product. And we were chatting with you about this before the show. You know, like, how do you actually describe your product, right? Because it's not exactly storage management software.
So it's a website platform, right? The main thing it does is, I think it's two things. One, we make it easy for people to find you, because if people can't find you, then you don't exist. But then two, once they find you, we make it easy for them to give you money. We make it easy for them to rent from you, right? That's the key piece. And behind it, the thing that powers all of that is the data and insights behind the scenes, right? So a lot of like marketing people and a lot of even self-storage owners, they love data, they love analytics. But I think because there's so much data and there's so much analytics, we don't know what to do with it, right? And so we decided to have the best of both worlds. So let's give you plenty of data, but let's give you specific data that's actionable for self-storage operators. So we kind of do that 1-2 punch of having the website platform backed with really amazing data. And I think that's why people love it. And of course, the third layer to all of that is the love and support, right? And I think a lot of folks come on board because they want a better looking website or a better way to do online rentals. But then I think they stay because they fall in love with our team. And that just that gives me all the chills and definitely makes me proud to be a part of it all.
Oh, for sure. So what was the beginning of the Storage Pug journey? Like, how did this thing start?
So I'll give you the long version because we're on this thing together now. So thanks for having me out, guys. But it started when I was in college. I was pre-med. I was going to go be a doctor. Realized that, blood and guts, not my thing. And thank goodness I quit my senior year, actually. So I was ready to go take the MCAT and everything. I was like, you know what? I'm cutting this loose. And, it's not like I had poor grades. I was making pretty good grades.
But I decided, you know what? I think I know the doctor path. And here I am. It's like, let's go.
I know. I saw your bio and I was like, all right. Yeah. I'm like, let's shift gears because blood and guts, not my thing, makes me queasy. So I shifted to technology. So I changed degrees to computer science and took all of my computer science courses in 2 years, which not recommended, by the way. I had a lot of help to do it, but I met two good friends, Matt and Richard. And then after we graduated, I had started a couple companies, done some tech things. And then 2017, Matt hits me up. He's like, dude, my dad owns a storage business. I'm like, storage business? What do you mean storage business? Like cloud storage? and he's like, no. Like self-storage. And I was like, okay, cool. And his dad and their partners were like, hey, we have this website. It's kind of like an online brochure, right? And this is, again, 2017, 6 years ago. Online rentals wasn't really a thing at the time, right? We're like, you know what? We want to be competitive. We have a good product. Customers love us. We want to be able to do this online. We're like, oh, cool. Let's go do it. So we built it. And while we were building it for their facility based in Knoxville, we're like, there's more than one storage facility in town. There's several hundred. So why don't we build it for everyone? And then while we were doing that, we realized how big the industry really was, right? It wasn't just one facility. It wasn't just a couple hundred. It's like 55,000 facilities. So we're like, you know what? let's do it. So we actually shut down everything else that we were working on because we had concurrent projects because we're software guys and we were building stuff. And so we shut everything else down, and Matt convinced me to commit to Storage Pug, and here we are. The rest, as they say, is history. And so we stuck it in, and woo, here we are 6 years later, still doing it.
The thing that sticks out to me with that story is like you're saying 2017. I mean, this isn't the .com bubble. That's not too long ago. And you're saying 10% of the market was renting online?
Based on our research, less than, it was like about 10%. I think it was like 9 point something percent. I think we surveyed 1,000 different facilities in different markets, and only about 100 of them offered any kind of online rentals. I mean, think about this. None of the REITs were doing online rentals in 2017.
It's wild.
It wasn't until I think 2019 that Life Storage launched their online rental portal, right? Yeah. And so none of the REITs were doing this.
Yeah.
It's insane to think about.
And, kind of you getting, we were talking about this before, talking about best practices, right? So it's, to me, very unique to see an industry nowadays in 2023 that is kind of new in the digital age, right? And so me being an operator, we were talking about how I kind of onboarded you to this show, right? Like I'm very tech heavy. I love to automate stuff. I love to make sure things are working properly and, do things kind of the right way. But it sounds like, you're interacting with hundreds, if not thousands of different facilities. What are you kind of seeing out there as the variability and like best practice, worst practice, and stuff people are doing right and wrong?
Jordan, man, it's honestly all over the map, and something that got me excited. So, of course, the opportunity was there, right? We're thinking about building a startup, right, with your college buddies. This is the classic startup story, right? So, like, let's go build cool stuff that people need, right? But the thing that really got me hooked was like, whoa. Not only can we build cool stuff that they will need and use, we have an opportunity to kind of like set the precedent on how to do things. Like we weren't the first by far. Like there were other companies trying to do online rentals and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not suggesting that we're the first, but I am suggesting like, whoa, there was a lot of dumb ways of doing business when we started Storage Pug, right? And so we're like, okay, I'm a huge proponent of education and a huge fan of best practices. Rising tides rises all boats, right? And I think and the nature of the competition in self-storage, we're talking about 1, 2, or 3 mile radiuses, right? Yeah. So like if I'm doing something amazing in Knoxville and you're in Pennsylvania, it's cool. We can both do the same thing and not even step on each other's toes, right? Yeah. And so we saw that as an opportunity to set best practices, and it's taken us a little, first couple years, people didn't know who we were. And so like, so what, this little company in Knoxville was saying we should do it this way. But then what happened was the COVID came around, 2020 came around, and everyone was scrambling to do online rentals because of contactless and the demand for automation, right? And so we're like, oh, okay, here's our opportunity. Let's actually tell the industry, hey, here's the XYZ and how this is the playbook. This is how you execute it. And so we've been on that kick for the last few years. And but no, the variability, like you're saying, it's all over the map. We still talk to folks who do things paper pencil. Right. And of course, I meet guys like you who embrace technology and who get excited about it. Right. And aren't afraid of it and actually use it to have the kind of life that you're doing. Right. I mean, your full-time job isn't self-storage. I know it's become more of your time, I'm sure, over the last few years. But you've got a family, you've got kiddos, and you've got other things that you want to be doing. And I think a lot of people are seeing like, oh, you know what? Let's embrace best practices, because it's not only good for you and your family, it's good for your customers. And something that I always think is like, if it's good for your customers, they're more likely to give you money. And if they're giving you money, the lights stay on and everyone can be happy, right? And I think that's why it's such a win-win-win situation when you operate your business like a business. It's not just some investment vehicle. It's a real business. It really is, right?
Yeah,
and I think
this gets to that, like, saying, passive income. And I kind of say, like, passive income can be a little bit of a dirty word. It's like the guys out there shilling the passive income stuff. And it's like, Well, you can get it passive, but it can get a lot more passive if you run it right, and you take that time up front and you put in these, systems and operations, and it's work. It's a real business, but the harder you work at it, the more automated it can get. And so I kind of see Storage Pug and what you guys do, you're very customer facing, right? So, you're kind of like data analytics on the back end, but you're still sitting on top of that management layer. Right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think for a long time, self-storage was, let's build some buildings and people will come, right? Like it's as close to a build it and they'll come type of business as you could get, right? And demand kept rising, supply kept rising, and it wasn't a lot of competition. But nowadays, we've moved way past yellow pages, right? And we've now come to digital, right? And it's been digital. I got to say, it's probably been digital for 10 plus years, right? Google Business, Yelp, all these platforms have been around for a long time now, right? And so all the operators who are super savvy have figured that out, right? There's a reason why the REITs have grown to the size that they are. And there's also another reason why the mid-market has grown to the size that they are. Because all those people have embraced technology and they understand how to leverage it to make the business model work really well. And while they're doing that, they're creating experiences that customers deserve. Right? Like I don't go to your website and say, I want this 10 by 10 and it doesn't load. Or I fill out everything and I get to the last screen and you can't take my payment. Right? Think about that experience from a customer's perspective. That's infuriating.
Yeah, or even from a total customer lifetime value perspective, right? What is each customer worth? What is your conversion rate, right? You're like spending all this money, all this time, and you're throwing out frisbees with your name on it or however you want to do in kind of old school marketing, and then they land on your website, and then how are you converting them, right? And so some of the folks that I've worked with within the industry, they don't have, and I'm a huge fan of digital marketing, and that's honestly what attracts me to you guys. And you mentioned this data, and so the way the data works and is that people go onto your website, right? And then what do they do? And so say you're getting 100 visitors every week. Well, the difference between one of those converting, a 1% conversion rate, and 3, that's massive, right? And so
we're talking thousands of dollars.
Each customer, right? And that kind of allows you to push those rates. And so you have a platform like Storage Pug, and it sounds like you guys are really trying to optimize that. So what are you doing kind of on the back end? Like, what's your dev team look like? What are the conversations that they're having? Like, are they talking about, fixing bugs, or are they talking about, hey, how can we tweak this, or how can we change the website? What are the main things you're thinking about day to day?
Yeah. So one of the questions I get often from new operators, right, is like, hey, how can we increase traffic? Or, should we run an ads campaign to drive more traffic? Or should we do an awareness campaign on Facebook and all this kind of stuff? And it's like, all that sounds nice, right? Like, don't get me wrong. More faces on your business can't hurt you, right? But let's talk about the people that already find your business. Like you mentioned, right? Let's say you get 100 people a week. Honestly, let's say you get 100 people a month. Let's just be really honest,
that's
right?
Reasonable. That's a good visit.
100 a month is actually not terrible, right? No, like if you're in a tertiary market, 100 a month is fine, right?
Yeah. So these are probably very active people. Yep.
Yes. So let's work off of that premise, right? So you mentioned lifetime value, right? So let's calculate that real quick. That's easy. There's the hard way and there's the easy way. And the easy way is what's your average rent times what's your average stay. And I don't know what you're seeing at your facilities, Jordan, but I saw a report at the end of the year in 2022 that the new average is like 14 months.
Yeah, we're 18 months. We're like about $100 in 18 months. Yep.
There you go. So that's $1,800. Easy math, right? So every one customer is worth $1,800. So let's say that your website's converting at 1%. So for every 100 visitors, you get one new customer. Okay, that's cool. What if you just double that? Let's not even talking about going crazy and 10xing. Yep. Let's just increase it from 1% to 2%, right? So let's talk about what it takes to convert better than 1%, right? I'll give you the basics, and I'll answer your direct question about what our product team is actively doing. So there are 3 core basics that every website's got to have, plain and simple. Number 1, photography. This sounds so basic, man, but we have all seen those blue doors. I don't know whose blue doors those are.
I know those doors. Or there's the one with the mountain in the background.
There's one with the mountain.
The mountain. Dude, somebody mentioned, I know that facility. I'm like, I got to remember the name. Those mountains are nice. Yeah, those. You know what's funny? We're just getting ready to launch a new facility of mine. I just took the blue doors down. I just put the new ones up. I'm a blue door guy.
You're a blue door guy.
I'm not anymore. I got professional photos done. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think those mountains are like Rocky Mountains, and we have clients in the Southeast. We're based in Knoxville, so we have a ton of Tennessee and Georgia and North Carolina clients. Like, our mountains aren't as tall as that's the one in your picture. So yeah, number one, a conversion thing is better website. So if you don't do anything else, if your website still looks terrible, it's okay. Well, it's not okay, but at minimum, go get professional photos. Because, do you mind sharing how much it costs you to go get professional photos?
Dude, it was $265, and this guy, awesome. So there's I got him. I'll have to list them on my website. So I have on investingstorage.com. I literally keep it's called the storage resources page, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll use it to drive people to my website and stuff. But I literally just put stuff there so I don't forget it too. And there's two, photo outsourcing platforms out there, and they're so easy. And the photos, they do these HDR photos, and it's like, okay, done.
So crisp, right? And it's your photos, so you can put it on your Facebook and your Google Business and all those things, right? So, but number one, don't skip on photos because it's a one-time cost and it's $200-$300. You can spend upwards of $500 if you want video and drone and all that kind of stuff, and that's cool. Do it. So photos, number one, right? Number two thing, if you want a highly converting website, preemptively answer your customers' questions. So that implies that you know what your customers are looking for, right? So answer them. So what are your business hours? What are your gate hours? What's your phone number? Where are you located? Right? Like basic stuff. Your website should go ahead and preemptively answer those kinds of biographical questions, right? And so that way, if I'm a prospective customer, I'm not having to wonder, is this on this side of town or the other side of town? Which red light is this, right? I wanted to access my things on a Sunday evening at 10 p.m. Can I do that? These are real questions that real customers have, right? So go ahead and preemptively answer them. You don't have to do it in FAQ format, which I'd recommend that you have FAQs, but you can just do it by having good design, by placing pertinent information in the right place, right? And then the third piece of information that your website 100% has to have, customer testimonials and customer reviews. You spend so much time and energy getting reviews and treating customers well, and usually a lot of facilities have 10, 20 reviews on their Google business listing. Some of them on their Yelp listing. Pipe those straight into the website. You got to have it, right? So I think in summary, those are the three main things: photography, answering business information, and plastering your reviews everywhere. That's how you increase conversions, and that's what we've come now. There's a baseline. You have to have online capabilities, right? You have to have online rentals and that sort of thing, hopefully, right? But even if you didn't,
and are seamless,
that work too, right? But even if you didn't, if your call to action was to call me, you should still have those three things, right? Yeah, you still get a decent number.
CTAs is call. Yeah, I mean we get, and I track that too, and we optimize. You get to optimization, conversion, right? Like this whole conversation we're having is conversion, which kind of what you were saying. The first thing people ask you is how do I drive more users, right? It gets to this SEO, and which is important, but really you got to think about.
It's very important.
Yes, it isn't in any way to downplay SEO and content and social media marketing, this whole thing, even just customer outreach, of course. But this other side of it that I think a lot of people, and I'm kind of secretly pitching one of my partners here, you know who you are, bud. I'm like, hey, our conversions are kind of crummy. I sent a screenshot of we're using ESS, and I mean, you've done a million walkthroughs, right? The customer journey kind of thing. I always do the customer journey, different aspects of our customer journey, like whether it's the phone or the website. And so I'm going through one of our facilities, and I see the ESS page to actually sign up. I did the screenshot. I had to download the software where you can screen cap the whole website. You know what I'm talking about? And it was literally get it on camera here. It was 3 pages long or 3 feet long. I'm like, I don't think we need to ask their cat's name and their dog's name and their social security number and their driver's license and like these are all mandatory. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are dropping off. And it's like that one little thing. I mean, imagine it must be it was taking people 10 minutes to fill that out or more. I mean, how many are dropping off? I don't know the numbers, but I'm sure a lot. It's like that importance of conversion. It's
huge, right? And I think that's the to answer your question from earlier, like what do we, what's the product team doing? I think one of the things that is critical is knowing who the customer is, right? You're not the customer. You as the storage owner, the manager, we like you, but we don't care what you think, honestly, right? Like, yeah, we want you to be proud of your product and all that kind of stuff. That's important, yes. But when it comes to the experience, when was the last time that the owner has rented a storage unit? We asked them this. And they're like, oh, honestly, I don't remember. Yeah, great. So you're not the customer we need to satisfy, right? So we've done things like focus groups. We've done user surveys of end users, right? And we frequently talk to end users who've rented just to ask them, hey, what drove your need? What was your desire? What was your experience like, right? And so a lot of our optimization has to do with that. We also use screen capture software and we record user sessions. So every time someone goes and does a rental or an online payment or whatever the situation is, we have a recording of that. So we can actually see where they got stuck, if they got stuck, or where they left because they're like, you know what? I don't really want to answer that question. I'd rather just do something else right now. Right?
Yeah, I remember the first time I have a tech background as well. And I remember the first time that I worked with a dev team building a website. And I'm like, this is the easiest to use website in the world. And then I send it to my dad. And he's like, I can't get past the first page. I'm like, what do you mean? This is your fault. This isn't my fault. I'm not a bad developer. I'm not a bad project manager. You're the... But you get it, It's like you got to build these things so that people can go through them easily. And they find creative ways to drop off, too.
They really do. They really do. And I think you can't appease everyone, but I think you find that common denominator that kind of matches most of your average customer, right? Because we have this question a lot, like, hey, what if customers really want a specific type of unit? Let me ask you this. If you picked a random stranger on the side of the street and you asked them, explain the difference between drive up and interior access, could they answer that question? No. Trust me, right? Like they could guess. They could this sounds maybe. Like this.
Yep.
No. The average user, the average person who finds your website doesn't know how to answer those questions. So we start with the core common thing, which is size. That makes sense to people. Like customers, they can imagine what a 5x5 might fit versus a 10x20. So let's start with the size, and then once they decide, I need a big unit or a small unit, now we can show them the different options that might be available and educate them along the way so they don't feel overwhelmed. Right? I think that's that hurts conversion more so than anything else. Is overwhelming the user. It's like, oh, okay, this is too much. I'm just gonna go do a different chore now, and I'll deal with this later. And I think that was something that we realized because our first websites were they were pretty intuitive, but they were too educational. Like we gave too much information on the front end, where now we've learned, okay, let's sprinkle and put little breadcrumbs so that customers can make one decision at a time, right? Yeah. First decision is, where do I want to store? Great. Second decision is, how big a unit do I need? And then third decision is, what type of unit? If your facility offers multiple types. And then from there, it's like, oh, cool, this was easy, right? And so like the easier each step is, the more likelihood that they'll convert at the end because this has been fun. We took a chore and made it a pleasant experience. Right. And like, yeah, that's cool. That's the stuff that gets our product team so excited. So about half of our company is on the product team. We're a team of 30, and about half of them are either on design or development, and then the other half is support, marketing, and sales. So we're very much a product-oriented company, and it's fun to see the results come. You know what I mean? Like, it's fun to be like, oh, cool. This facility went from 2 rentals a month to 12 after going live in 2 months, and like, that's cool. That gets me the excitement. That gets me hyped up. So definitely a ton of fun.
No, that's super cool. And I wonder, you don't necessarily have to answer this, but I wonder, like, of these management platforms, how many of these platforms are kind of having these conversations, I would probably guess they're not having them as intensely as you are, because
not their specialty, and I think that's I don't say it's a pitfall, but that's the reality, right? Like if I built washer machines and you wanted me to build better garage doors, like I know washer machines, so I think it's just a different part of the business, different part of the home, right? And so I think it's harder for large management companies to think about user optimization and user experience and conversions because they have many other things they have to any other problems they have to solve, where we have the unique proposition that, hey, we solve one problem, which is the customer acquisition problem, right? And of course, there's a bunch of sub problems, like we got to make it look good, we got to do all those things, we got to do SEO. But like to me, it's like that's all par for the course. But the main number one thing is, can we help you acquire customers better than if you could elsewhere? Better may not be cheaper, but sometimes it is cheaper. Some of our clients are spending $300, $400, $500 per customer, right? Like if you're paying an aggregator, for example. Yep. They're paying $300, $400, $500, and that's reasonable. But like, can you get a better cost per acquisition? I think the strong, staunch argument is that in most markets, yes, you can get a much better cost per acquisition by having effective tools that are highly converting. Now, I have a client up in Brooklyn, New York, and their cost per acquisition through the roof compared to my clients down in North Carolina. It's a different market, different game, right? And so that's why it's hard you can't compare national numbers with your store. You have to understand the local nature of it. But as long as the numbers work out in your spec you track, then go ride with it, right? But I think if you have the best practices in place that are highly converting, that are user friendly, that make me as the end user have that warm and fuzzy feeling, you're going to rent more units than your neighbors 100% of the time. I feel very confident in that statement.
For sure. So I know, about, I mentioned this before, you're kind of like a minor celebrity in the industry. Maybe, no. In the industry, maybe minor nationally. I don't know. I don't know how many people know you outside the industry. But what I'm getting at here is like, you're very active on social media, right? And, I'd assume you're doing this purposefully, as we all are. It's like Bill and I, we have, Bill comes from a multi-family, single family background, right? So he's like the like real estate side of this. So we have episodes of our show that are focused more on real estate than we have the self-storage side, right? And like we have ultimate goals with the show, similarly to you, I assume. So like, what is the way that you're using social media? Like, what is your kind of end goal with that? How do you interact? Are you interacting with customers? Are you helping educate? What's your like ideas on that?
Yeah. So our mantra here at Storage Pug is help, don't sell. So I'd rather meet a stranger. Honestly, you started as a stranger, right? And like, hey, let's reach out to Jordan. Let's talk to him. Like, if we can help him, great. If not, let's still get to know him, whether we're going to have a client-vendor relationship or not, right?
Sure.
And so that's always been our goal, is to help, don't sell. And so that's actually how we use our social media, is like, let's just publish as much useful, helpful content as possible, right? We mentioned earlier, all rising tides rises all boats. And we really, like, I truly believe in that, right? And so if you are running your business like a business and you're treating your customers well, hopefully it rubs off on other folks, right? Because the flip to that is that you treat your customers poorly, you give storage a bad name, and then that's going to lead to regulation and all the other stuff, right? Bad press that none of us want, because this doesn't have to be that way, right? Sure. And so if everyone's treating their business like a business and taking good care of their customers, we're all going to win. So that's how we end up using our social media. So we don't use it as a selling platform. We use it as an education platform. So we actually have a private group called the Pug Pack, which is our clients only, where they can get on there and, we post news and that sort of thing. But even like I counted the other day, and I'm part of 27 different self-storage groups on Facebook. And there's a ton of them, and I know you're in quite a few of them too. And there's a lot of people brand new to the industry asking like, "Hey, I'm new to the business. I'm trying to do this thing." Right? And it's like, and sometimes I cringe with those questions. It's like, whoa, pause real quick.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
this is not the right approach, right? And so the way that we engage with people in those platforms, like, hey, here, let me connect you to someone who might actually know how to do this, right? And so that's one way. Another way is to post educational content, like, hey, read this article because this might help you make a better decision. And so that's ultimately how we have used social media. So it's become more of this brand awareness thing of like, oh, okay, the Storage Pug becomes synonymous with people who care and people who are helpful. And if we're doing that, and if that's our reputation online, then I'm winning every day, right? And that gets me really excited. So our entire marketing team, that's what they focus on, and even our sales team. They're on there. They're trying to be helpful. And like I said, our whole motto is help, don't sell. And and in the moment, if I catch wind that we're selling, not helping, then those are internal conversations that we got to nip in the bud.
Sure.
But I'm pretty proud of our team. Like everyone, like they buy into that and they believe it, and that just makes it. This is I haven't gotten into like team building and that sort of thing, but once people buy into the mission of like, hey, this is what we're really trying to do, and no one's fighting each other, and they just believe it. Trust the process, and it's amazing. It's beautiful.
No, and the customer too, right? Like your customer and kind of being twofold, right? Like you're helping the storage facilities, that's your main customer that you're pitching, but then also like your goal is to help out storage customers as well. And I think kind of on both sides, consumers have gotten a little more savvy, and this kind of antiquated, like hard sales approach, at least to me, and I think a lot of, especially for selling to business professionals, these self-storage owners, it's like, man, I don't want to be just like grinded to a pulp and just berated and, even like guilted a little bit. A lot of people see through that. And, I feel that from Storage Pug too, like that brand awareness. And it's kind of interesting that you've really honed in on just overall brand awareness. I mean, obviously that takes time though, right?
Oh, 100%, right? So like our first couple years, no one really knew who we were. And we're like, well, how do we change that, right? Like, I mean, much like a brand new storage operator, right?
Sure.
Like if you're brand new in a market, how do customers find you? And our mode, our method was, let's just help people. And if we can do business, great, even better. Everyone's going to win. But if we can't, that's okay. Let me still make sure that everyone who passes through Storage Pug on their journey has a good time. And we've got probably, I'd say about 1,000 people that are just like excited for Storage Pug. No, like these are people that we've talked to that we don't do business with. Right,
that's awesome.
Like that emails regularly that say, "Hey, Tommy, check this out." Right, and I love that. And it's like that's cool because they're not in a place that they need to do business with Storage Pug, and some of the folks they're not like some people have like 18 units. And it's like, well, you probably don't need Storage Pug for that. Let's be honest, right? Yep. And so, but I still want to be on. We still want to orbit each other, and I think that's so exciting, right? And on the flip side, we do have 1,300 plus facilities who are using our software to rent units, and that's pretty fun too, right? And so, but of course, when you start out in your first 2 years in any venture, that doesn't happen, and it's not an overnight thing. It's a constant grind. It's a constant. You gotta have a lot of grit, but I think the thing that's constant through all of that is you got to take care of people. You got to take good care of people, because the moment you forget that, then it becomes a very slippery slope to bad business from there. That's not sustainable.
You still in there pushing commits, or are you, still doing the hard dev work?
I love that question. So the other day, like literally,
maybe explain
Monday.
What a commit is real quick for everybody.
That might be a good thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're the dev. I'm just the guy that pretends like I know about tech.
So it's like a change log, right? So every time let's say you write in an essay for college, right? You want to save this version of the essay, so if your computer crashes, you don't lose your essay, right? And so a commit is basically every time you save your code, right? And so you can all go back to that version of your code. That's what a commit is. So the last time I had any meaningful commits to our code was like 2019. So
I mess it up coming on.
Exactly. Yeah. So they don't let me. They don't have the keys
Tommy
to that.
Got his hands on it again. Oh, we gotta let him do what he wants.
I'm very fortunate. So we have 3 co-founders, Matt, Richard, and myself. And Matt and Richard, well, all 3 of us are programmers in background. But Matt and Richard, they love it. Like that's their butter. They really enjoy that piece of it. I did not, but I enjoyed other things more. right? And so it made sense that I did some of the other stuff while Matt and Richard focused on the code. And so as we hired developers and designers, I've completely left the product team. So I have no commits to our current code base, which is probably a good thing. But for me, I think I take that as a win, because like we have this cool product that our clients love, they use, that's improved on all the time. We just launched a big update last Friday that I don't have to be a part of. Right? Sure. Like that's really cool that Matt's got this on lockdown, and it's just really fun to see. But yeah, so last commit that we looked is on GitHub, is 2019.
You checked it out. So you're obviously at the cutting edge of this industry, and part of my goal with this podcast, we talk to a lot of different people, right? And kind of starting to interact with this unique sphere of folks within the industry, which are folks that are kind of changing self-storage, right? Because it's like you go from just let's build a shed, if you build it, they will come kind of thing, to okay, now 2017, 18, it's like let's automate this online. But like, what's the next? And so I just saw online the other day, like autonomous drones that will secure a self-storage facility when they detect motion. I'm like, oh, dude, that's kind of cool. Like, kind of creepy, but kind of cool, right? And motion detectors in the facility. There's a lot of different ways. Your platform, right? It's like a higher end type platform, right? And so there's a lot of ways that I see this industry becoming like, more advanced and kind of like overall better, right? You could almost see a tiered model like they do in software sometimes, right? Like the standard, premium, and then like, the concierge self-storage where you have, drone securing it and motion detector and 24/7 camera of your facility. So what do you see interacting in this space? What do you see 5 years from now, 10 years from now, the industry kind of becoming?
Yeah. So, I mean, I love tech stuff, right? I obviously I'm the tech space and we have a tech product, so I love that. But I think a moment where it's kind of like this rubber band effect, right? So I think we've been stretching and stretching. There's still this backlog of people who need to still catch up, right? Mm-hmm. And I think honestly, the next 5 years, that's what our hope is like all these people who have not adopted the current technologies. We need to get them caught up. We need to get them up to speed. Because until we get those people up to speed, the rate of innovation doesn't matter, right? If only the REITs or if only the huge hedge funds have the cool toys, it doesn't help anybody, right? One piece of technology that comes to mind is like Nokia. For the longest time, Nokia was only in the REITs. Right, and Nokia's been around for 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer than that. Beta, I guess 5 years ago. But anyways, even that is now finally I'm seeing operators like smaller operators, one-offs, starting to install that product, right? Yeah. And so we have this little delayed effect. So I think the next 5 years we're just going to see more people adopting the technology that's already available now. Nokia locks, DaVinci locks, cloud access control, like folks like Spider Door, right? So it's going to be cool. So I think that's the next 5 years. But if you go 5 years beyond that, I think we have to look at our neighbors in Asia. Asia has been very, very quick to adapt technology. Right, I'm not talking about like kiosks. So like because we have kiosks here, right? Yeah. We're talking like full on virtual systems that is just now starting to be introduced in the U.S. market. There's a couple companies trying these things out, like KISS, Store Ease, a few of these guys trying to do it here in the U.S. But they've had these virtual kiosks. It's not like a kiosk that you and I think of about a kiosk. Yeah. We're talking about these like full-on virtual things where you walk in and it's like it feels like you're talking to someone else, but it's through a machine. Like that's been happening in Asia for years now. Right, so like that's something. Monitoring is going to be leveled up and more affordable, right? And so like you mentioned, like unit monitoring, cameras, all of those sorts of things are going to happen in the next 10 years, and that's exciting. A lot of this technology is happening in Asia, Philippines, Singapore, Japan, these markets where self-storage is a lot smaller, and I think honestly because self-storage is newer and smaller in the Asia market, they have been able to move faster and be more agile, right? There's not a lot of facilities there that have been around since the 80s. most of the facilities have been built in the last 10 years, right? And so they're able to adopt technology, build it. Yeah. And so, and generally technology is easier to access and cheaper in some of these Asian markets compared to the U.S. as well, because a lot of it originates there, right? And so I think those things. But yeah, so my goal for the next 5 years for our current industry is let's get all of these folks who are a little old school, have been a little scared. Let's some of the current technology that's already available now that all the REITs are using, all of these hedge funds are using, and a lot, of course, not only those, we still have a lot of independents who are tech forward like yourself, and I want to see more of that, and then we can start iterating from there, and then that, who knows in now what really will happen, but I think if we can all just agree that customers need a better way to get help when they need it and a better way to rent a unit when they need it, then we're doing a really good job as an industry, as being a good steward to the people who pay the bills, all of our bills.
So what's your take then on how your platform, because, and this gets into a tech conversation, right? But it's relevant to managers. From your side, having a million different, you could call them like value add or ancillary type things, it's difficult to build, you don't just click a button and all of a sudden it works, right? So what's your kind of take on how you're building out your technology? Are you like, yeah, we're very selective with who we, work with. We want it to be seamless. Or are you like, let's try, are there certain things you like to work with or integrate with? What's your take on that?
Yeah, we vet pretty hard, pretty heavily, right? Like we don't just blindly jump into a situation. Because like we can't be good stewards to our clients if we're mindlessly building stuff that they may not need, right? And because like our resources are limited, right? Like we don't have a product team of 1,000 people just building stuff, right? We're not Apple, we're not Facebook or Google, so we have to be really mindful. So, but actually, that's a good problem to have because now we can vet a product and we can say, you know what? Is this something we want to build or not? And then also we have to ask the question, how many people are going to adopt it now versus the next 12 months? And how many people are excited about this product?
Yeah.
Right. And
all that development on something that nobody's going to use. Yeah.
Exactly. And so but like most companies, we've built stuff that no one's ever used. We've built stuff that we've sunsetted. You have to be exploratory and experimental, but then, once you're a certain scale, you do have to be wise and smart with your time and your product dollars and all of those sorts of things, right? And so we do have to be smart and mindful. But what's cool is with us being able to speak tech in a way, right? Like technology is not a language, but like we understand it and we breathe it and live in it every day. We have, it's kind of like the eye test. Like, we can look at it and say, is that useful or is that not useful? Right. And so that's one extra layer that we can that's another lens that we have when we're reviewing or analyzing a product. And of course, the other thing, too, my partner's family owns self-storage. So we have that lens of like, oh, would a self-storage owner pay or invest in this piece of technology? And then, of course, a lot of folks here at Storage Pug currently rent a storage unit. And so they have self-storage end-user experience, right? And so we can kind of aggregate all of those data points and be like, is this a hit or a miss? And we don't have crystal balls, so we can't know for sure. But we can have a pretty good chance that this is 80% miss. We're not going to deal with this.
No, I mean, that makes sense, right? Like the industry's changing so much and you kind of, you can let it play out a little bit before you adopt some new or integrate some new platform into your software that's, people don't end up using. So I wanted to kind of, and this is how we always do it on the podcast, I wanted to kind of shift the conversation a little bit more to the personal side of stuff. So tell me a little bit about your business mind. Like obviously you're a dev, right? So what do you see, and you're a big part of this company that you run, obviously. What are your like strengths? What are the things that you love to do? And then how do you deal with this stuff? You're like, I'm not this particular thing. Do you learn and try to overcome it? What's your kind of like way that you've grown in business?
Oh man, we many mistakes all the damn time, right? And I think that's probably a strength that we have here as a company. Is like, you know what? It's okay to mess up. Let's just own it. Let's go, right? And let's move on. It is, doesn't need to point fingers, right? Like we should understand the root cause And can we avoid the root cause in the future? If the answer is yes, let's go. It doesn't matter whose fault it was, right? And so I think that's one thing that we have is like short-term memory when it comes to failure, right? So I think that's been helpful. I think the other thing that's been tremendously helpful is managing strategic relationships with people, right? Whether it's a fellow vendor or a client or is even third party to the industry, but they could provide a lot of guidance, right? Yeah. So I think that's something that I've been able to bring to the table and a skill that I think I've sharpened over the years. And I think the third thing that I really enjoy doing is building team, right? And helping people show up and buy into the vision that hey, there's a better way of doing storage business, and we unique take on it, and we think we have a product that can help these people run their businesses better, go on more vacations, and treat their customers better. Like that's a win-win-win for. And I think the thing that's exciting for me is watching our team show up every day and do better at their jobs, and the ones who have stucks. Let's remove those stucks, right? And that's something that is a strength here. But I think something that it's taken me a long time to learn and to develop or figure out is understanding that people don't know what I don't know. Or no, let me say it again. Understanding that people don't know what I do know. Right? I have so much more context than anyone else could ever have because like I started the company and all of this. And so sometimes I have to pause for a second. Like there's no way that you could answer the question the way you should answer it because you don't have all the context. Right? And so it took me year 3 or 4 in Storage Pug to like, you know what? You're right. Like, like there's no way that this person could help our clients the way that I want them to help them because they don't have all the context. So in year 3, we pause and say, you know what, let's build the context. So we actually built playbooks for everything. We have a sales playbook, a marketing playbook, a client success playbook, a product team playbook. So we have hundreds or thousands of pages now of documentation.
That's
right?
Awesome. I love that. You're striking a chord. That Bill and I were talking about this. We always kind of go back to these things of like automation, or not necessarily automation, but like streamlining the operations, right? And so I have a Loom subscription, which is, it's like this video recording thing. It puts a little picture of my ugly fright in the corner. Just kidding. Beautiful face in the corner. And so I'll like send these videos out to people. Like I just sent it out to one of my boots on the ground guys today. I sent him how to verify my Google business account. I'm like, you got to do this for me. You got to log in. And it's kind of a complex thing, right? So I have, these like workflows. And if you slowly build these systems, because you can get behind, right? Like you're saying, it took to year 3 and you're like, oh, this is a legitimate problem, right? Like we need to start building this. And so my take on my self-storage journey is like, I want to start from the very beginning and I want to kind of optimize all these things. And if I have a problem that, comes up and I can kind of document it and put in a policy or procedure that actually gets followed or is easy to access, then that's huge for me.
It is huge, and Loom is a game changer. And, it's not the only tool out there. It's the tool that we use here, and we use it for internal communication. We use it to communicate with clients. When a client emails in, hey, how can I do this thing? We'll send them a Loom video, a 2-minute Loom video to explain them how to do it. We use it for sales and marketing, right? Sure. And a powerful way to communicate. In addition to written communication, having audio and video is beautiful and powerful, right? And so I think those are some of the competencies. I think the other competency that, on the personal side that I think I bring to the table, and you mentioned I have a software background. I have a technical background. Yeah. Right. Not a lot of business owners can say that. Right. And what's cool is all 3 of our can say that. Right. Like we run a business and we're technical minded. And so it allows us to have an engineering view to solve every problem. Right. Every problem ends up, okay, let's slice and dice it. Let's solve little chunks at a time, because that's just the engineering approach. But then also let's continue to iterate and innovate on those, right? And I think that's fun and not the only way to solve problems, but that's the way that we solve problems here. And I think that works well. And I think the last thing I'll mention to that is, I think something that we sells extremely high is we want to be the best at everything that we're doing. So if something is preventing us from being the best, we're going to get rid of that thing, right? Or a skill that we needed to learn, we're going to go learn that skill, right? And so we just have the desire to be the best, not in anyone else's mind but our own. Right? Like it's this concept, like if there's a mountain to climb, let's go climb it, right?
I think you just mentioned Pokemon and Miley Cyrus in both of those comments. If anybody gets the reference, you can like comment, but I love it.
Yes.
I love it,
Yes.
Tommy. You want to be the very best? I love it, man. Dude, no, I agree though. And I think this is applicable to, it's like Bill's side of things again, is this like multifamily, single family, and like, we talk about his problems all the time, and they're not necessarily problems that I have, but like we address them, we hammer into them. And then on the self-storage side of things, it's like I can keep dealing with this problem over and over, or I can just, take the little bit of extra time and kind of do it right, and solve it, whatever it is, whether it's an onboarding thing or a communications thing. I mean, there's so many little problems that come up that you can just kind of solve right then and there, but you can also take the extra step and really fix them for the long term, So One more question. Before we get to our closing, which is the Bill and Kap Rapid 4, is there anything if you had to pick one thing that you could educate your potential customers on, what would it be?
Obsess 99.99% of your energy and time on what your customers want, period. Yeah. Right? Like, I think the implication that if you have customers, then you have a product that people want, right? And if you obsess about what people want, then you're going to naturally build product that more people of them want. And so if business owners worry less about all the other noise and focus on what their customers want, then everything's going to get better. Conversions are going to go up. We talked about the top of the call. Rentals are going to go up. Revenue's going to go up. And hopefully all that reduces problems. But yeah, if you obsess about what your customers want and what problems or issues that on their day-to-day lives, you're going to do really well in business. Way easier said than done, right? Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if you find a way to do that, you're going to be in good shape. And I think that's something that early on, I'm glad this was the path that we took, was like, hey, let's just obsess about the customer. And it helped that, in the early days, it was just 3 of us. And so we did everything, right? We wore every hat. We did onboarding, we did sales, we did marketing, we did product development, we did support. And so that gave us a really tight lens into our customers' eyes, our clients and our operators.
Sure.
And then that fed into the product lifecycle, which has been incredibly brilliant. But I think it applies to self-storage operators too. If you know what your customers want and you obsess about that, then you're going to have happy customers and repeat customers and future customers who are going to rely on the reviews of your current customers to find you, right? And it's this wonderful, beautiful feedback loop.
These guys are owner-operators too. It's like you're in self-storage, you're literally in the perfect position I like to say it's the smallest business that's still an actual like full-scale business that exists. Like it has everything: accounting, operations, like a website, having to deal with taxes, all this stuff. But like, unless you're a huge REIT, and you're dealing with like massive kind of structural things and like technology that's like very, very large, and marketing, like a standard self-storage facility, even if you have 5-10 facilities, it's still somewhat simple compared to a massive, I come from the hospital side, so does Bill. It's like compared to a hospital, the number of moving parts is like not,
No, I was talking to an operator. Yeah, I mean, definitely nothing like a hospital, right? And I was talking to this operator who his facility does $75,000 a month, right, in revenue, right? Yeah. So $1 million a year, a little less, but like how many businesses that are $1 million businesses in revenue, not even in valuation, in revenue, in cash money, how many $1 million businesses can be operated with 3 staff members?
Yeah.
Right.
That's don't tell anybody else about self-storage. Jeez, Tommy, come on, man. All right. Well, Tommy, we're getting to the end of the show here. I wanted to welcome you to the Bill and Kap Rapid Fire 4. This is a series of questions. You have, I'm still determining how many seconds you have. Let's just keep it at 30. You got 30 seconds to answer each one. All right. Tommy, question the first. Sales or marketing?
That's tough, man. I got to go marketing. The one-to-many conversations, you can't beat that, right? But At the same time, you can't run a business without sales. So I guess I'm going to cop out and say both.
That's okay. That's allowed. It's a rapid fire for you. You don't have much time to answer. All right. What is the one thing you wish every self-storage owner knew about their website in particular?
Ooh. You can educate your customers with everything you want them to know, right? Think about every question that you get on the phone or when someone walks in the door, drives up, knocks on your door, and think about all of those questions that those customers are asking you. You can preemptively answer them on your website. Take advantage of that.
Awesome. On-page content as well, a little SEO boost. Love it. Question the third.
Absolutely.
Tell us a secret about running a tech company that most non-tech folks would know. A dirty secret. It doesn't have to be dirty. A secret.
You know, running a tech company is actually no different than a non-tech company. It's just the different units within the company just have different skills. And you're dealing with a lot of smart people. Right, you're dealing with programmers and developers who think here. You're dealing with designers who are the best in class of what they do. Right, yeah. And so as someone who runs the company with my partners, we have to challenge ourselves every day to be our best, because otherwise we're working with people who are literally bringing their A game every day. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize is like as the founder, as the leaders, we get like humbled all the time. Like there are so many people at Storage Pug who do things way better than we can. But honestly, it's just inspiring and exciting for me to show up. And you know what? I can't design the way Anna designs. I can't
love
market
the design,
the way.
by the way. That little tail. Tell Anna the color change on the tail. That gradient as it gets orange.
Unreal. Sorry,
it.
Can't design like Anna.
Right,
I can't.
That was 30 seconds.
Market
We
like
gotta
that.
keep
Okay, keep going.
Okay.
Yep.
Last question. What asset class do you hold in your personal investment portfolio?
You know, I'm pretty boring. We have a financial advisor, so we just give him the money, and he does whatever he's got to do with it. So it's a combination of stocks and that sort of thing. I'm not in the investor in self-storage. Right now, I'm spending my energy on growing Storage Pug. One day, I absolutely see self-storage in our future. My partner's family owns self-storage, so I kind of like live vicariously through them. But yeah, so a combination of stocks, bonds, that sort of thing. And then, of course, most of the energy gets poured right back into Storage Pug.
Hey, that's an investment in self, right? The company that you own, run, and love. That's a portfolio. All right, now the last question. You survived the rapid four. This is the Bill and Kap deal proposal. We ask this every show. You're allowed to say no if you want. To do a deal with you right now, on air, what would it take to do the deal?
Tell me this deal. I got to hear the deal first.
And so any business you are going into, right? You mentioned you're interested in self-storage. What would it take for you personally to do a deal? Would it be I bring you a perfect teed up self-storage facility and you're like, you know what, I'm ready to do it? Or, hey, I'm trying to raise a Series A for Storage Pug. If you're EC and you got 20 million, then I'll do a deal with you. So whatever deal you want, what would it take?
I love it. You brought to me on a sheet of paper that said, hey, we're going to go build a massive 1,000 square foot facility, Class A, in the middle of some market that's not Charlotte, in the middle of some market that needs it. And you're like, Tommy, all we need is a stack of money. And we can do this thing. I would be interested, honestly. My Mark was talking the other day. It's like, you know what? That could be fun. So I think that'd be what it would take. Is like all the button and all the are tied up.
Sure.
Because like we said, Joe ago in the rap is like all of the energy is going right back into this company. So if I'm from that, then that's a no go from the beginning.
No, that's huge, right? And that's why I like this question, because it kind of addresses the overall mindset, right? And saying no to the deal proposal is oftentimes, it's like, no, I am focused on what I'm doing. But it's kind of fun, too. So
it is. Tommy, it's fun to, honestly, it's fun to dream.
Well, it's good to have you on the show. A couple wrap-up things. Do you have anybody that you would want to volunteer for tribute to have on the show?
You know what? There are several folks, honestly. There is a gentleman named Nick Newcomb, who I think you would love to have on. He runs a brand called Storage Max, based in Mississippi. They've got like 30 locations now. You'll have much fun talking to him. There's another wonderful person named Denise Boley. She runs a brand called Self Storage Science out of Texas. They have cool stories, and I think you'd enjoy talking with both of those two. Awesome. After this show, I'm happy to make connections if you'd like.
I appreciate it. Is there any way our audience can support you, sending you a deal, visiting your website, whatever you want? How can our help you out?
Yeah, I think two. Right, one, if you are trying to do better at your storage business, and in the sense of like treating it like a business and taking care of your customers, I would love it if you just downloaded all of our resources. It's free. storagepug.com/resources. There's like 200 plus things for you to watch, read, or download right there for free. So do that, please. But if you're also the kind of person who's like, man, I'm ready to take that next step, and I'm ready to do online stuff. I'm ready to look more professional online, and I'm ready to get rid of my blue doors. Email me. Get in touch with Tommy at storagepug.com, and be more than happy to send you connect you with the right person. But yeah, I think those two things. Go check out the free resources to do better, and if you're ready to commit and actually get professional help with the website and online stuff, we're right here for you.
Awesome. Any specific way that you want customers to reach you, the website, or what's the best way to kind of reach out to Storage Pug?
Two ways. Still to this day, I'm really good with email. I don't know how I do it. In fact, I know how I do it. I ignore all the emails that I don't need to read. So I have unread emails, but the ones that I need to read, I do read. So Tommy at storagepug.com is the best way. You can also call us, 865-240-0295. Someone will pick up the phone. So you can do that too. But yeah, email me, Tommy at storagepug.com. Tell me about your story. Tell me about how I can help you, and or who you would like to be connected to. I think something you said earlier, Jordan, of like being known in the industry. I think I'm the lucky one here. I've gotten to know so many people. So if you need a videographer, you need a dirt guy, you need a construction person, you need a sign lady, I got you. So just shoot me an email, Tommy at storagepug.com, and I'll connect you.
Got it. Self-storage software, and then, of course, like industry recommendations. I love it, man. So, yeah, thanks so much for being on the show, Tommy. It's great to get the chat with you. I've been a secret fan for a while, following all the content that you make. Yeah, I definitely even I use it a little bit personally as a framework. Like you're saying, educating folks and talking to folks. I'll leave all your info in the show notes below. You can check out storagepug.com, and the phone number, I'll have that all below. So take a listen. Everybody, thanks so much for coming to stop by on the podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment if we're on the right platform. And I wish you all the very best.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me out.
See you guys.